This is Markin Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Follow on Twitter. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Marking Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Brennan likes fisting. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. We're marking out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans.
Welcome to Markin Out, Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. This is episode 696. Make sure you listen to all of our past episodes, markinout.com. Also check us out on Spotify and over on Apple Podcasts and wherever else you may be listening to podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating, please. Also buy a t-shirt over at prowrestlingtees.com/markinout. Give us a follow on Twitter at markinout. Give us a follow on TikTok at Markin Out. Give us a follow over on Instagram at MarkinOut11 and give us a like over on Facebook. You can follow me, Dave the Rave, on all social media platforms at DavidPTDPT. You can follow Chris at Chris Sweendog over on Twitter and CMSweeney85 on Instagram and Brandon at BTTG161. That being said, Brandon, how are you?
I am doing awesome as always. How about yourself?
I am doing fantastic. How was your week?
It was okay. I made some meat sauce. It was pretty good. You could see it on TikTok.
Nice.
That's about all I did.
Awesome. Very cool.
How about yourself?
I did not do all that much on my end, but let's talk about some pro wrestling talk. Talk about some Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, it opened up with Liv Morgan, who spoke about injuring Rhea Ripley, winning the Women's Championship, and sending Becky Lynch into early retirement. And then she brought up the kiss that we didn't get to see live on television last week with Dominic. And then Dominic Mysterio actually interrupted, and I think it's pretty funny because they were booing Liv Morgan, but the heat for Dominic Mysterio is absolutely unmatched.
Oh, they hate him.
Like, we got boos for Liv, but we got... I don't even know how to, like, what's a louder word than boo?
Nuclear heat.
That was insane, but...
Nuclear heat.
Dominic Mysterio said that when Rhea Ripley comes back, she's going to kill Liv Morgan.
Yeah, she will not be happy.
And Liv was like, well, she'll probably kill you too. And then she said that Dominic came to the ring last week to be closer to her, and she wants to take everything from Rhea Ripley, alluding to Dominic. And then Finn Balor showed up, and he told her to back off, and told her that none of the members of the Judgment Day want her, and Liv Morgan teased Dominic more. So
yeah, she was like, what happens if he doesn't say no, that he wants me?
Yeah.
And I thought that was really... I feel like that was sexually intense, where she was just taking strides towards him and everything, and the buildup of the tension and stuff like that she was trying to portray with Dominic. I thought the entire segment was really awesome. I like how Finn came to the aid of Dominic to try to stop it. Kind of like what happened with the steel cage,
yeah,
where Finn Balor and McDonough had to come out to the cage to kind of like be like, Dom, come on back. So it's nice to see the Judgment Day are still continuing to play a factor in trying to, I guess, protect Dominic and Dominic's look out for him and his interest.
Or pull the wool over everyone's eyes.
That is very possible too. Yeah. But Liv Morgan did end up leaving the ring after that. Next up, you had Ludwig Kaiser pick up the victory over Sheamus, building from their brawl from last week.
I mean, even further back, the King of the Ring tournament, basically. But
yeah,
Kaiser took Sheamus's knee out before the match. And I honestly did not think we were going to get this match, but the match kept going. Kaiser worked on that knee throughout the match. Sheamus kept going, though. But at one point, Kaiser knocked him down, and the referee tried to call it off. Sheamus wouldn't let him. He got super fired up. The chops in this match were super crazy.
Oh, brutal.
Those were nuts. The marks that they left on each other after the match was crazy. But Sheamus had that bum knee. He tried to hit the bro kick and he couldn't. He went for white noise from the middle rope. Probably shouldn't have. And Kaiser got out of it, kicked Sheamus' knee out, and picked up the victory off of that.
Yeah.
After that, we saw Finn Balor pick up the victory over Dragon Lee. Been a while since we've seen Dragon Lee wrestle. So they aired a video package for him beforehand, and I thought this was a good match. The suicide dive that Dragon Lee hit was probably my favorite part of this match.
Yeah, that was a really nice spot. Clean.
But JD McDonough got involved. Dragon Lee put Finn Balor down and then dropped JD from that. But JD McDonough got back up and argued with the referee, and that's when Carlito showed up and crotched Dragon Lee. And then Dragon Lee jumped out onto Carlito and starts beating him up. JD McDonough tries to go after Dragon Lee, and Dragon Lee takes him out. But when Dragon Lee got back into the ring, Finn Balor took him out, got the victory there, and Carlito continued to beat down Dragon Lee after the match. Braun Strowman came out with Rey Mysterio, and they ran off.
Yeah, Carlito's still trying to earn his keep with Judgment Day.
And then Damian Priest said that if Carlito wants to be in the group, then he needs to go to Adam Pearce and get a match with Braun Strowman. And then we saw R-Truth also show up in that segment where, or later on, where he was talking about the best days of his life being part of the Judgment Day. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah. And Miz is like, you're tag team champion. What are you talking about? But later on, we saw Braun Strowman pick up the victory over Carlito with Finn Balor getting involved.
Mm-hmm.
Braun put him down, and then he put Carlito down.
I think it's smart move. Smart move to have Braun go over Carlito with this.
But then the Judgment Day attacked Braun Strowman afterwards, and he had the upper hand. But Dominic took Braun Strowman's knee out, and then Braun ends up swatting that chair away. But Liv Morgan shows up. And she gets in Braun Strowman's way from attacking Dom. And that allowed the Judgment Day to take over. And Braun Strowman, he did again take over a bit, but they took him down. They were like hyenas there. I don't know if I necessarily liked the knee injury spot.
Mm-hmm.
We have that with Sheamus.
That's true.
It's like the King and Queen of the Ring tournament where we had it with Randy Orton, we had it with Bianca Belair. I find that to be weird.
Yeah, I could understand what you mean with that.
Going back in reverse, we had Sami Zayn come out, and he called Chad Gable out to put an end to everything. And it was the Alpha Academy who came out instead, and Maxine said that Chad Gable told them that Sammy doesn't deserve his respect or his time. And then she delivered a message from Chad Gable, a message that included running Alpha Academy down on behalf of Chad Gable. And it was basically saying that Chad Gable said that he wants a title shot, and Sami Zayn said that if it puts an end to all of this, then he's got it at Clash of the Castle. And then Sami Zayn spoke to them and questioned if they've had enough of how Chad Gable's treating them.
And then just like that, bam, sideswiped.
He was like, set yourselves free, man. And then, like you said, Sami Zayn got attacked, and Chad Gable, he made Otis hit Sammy, but he was super torn on that. And he started going in on Otis, and Tozawa tried to stop him, so Gable went in on Tozawa, and then Maxine pulled him off of Akira Tozawa, and he made both of them leave. And when Otis got in front of Chad Gable,
oh man, the crowd erupted.
They went nuts. It was electric.
Yeah.
Completely unexpected.
I think that is such a huge sign of how well all of these wrestlers are portraying their storyline right now.
100%.
I mean, that alone is a surprise because I thought that it was always like a fun segment and stuff. But obviously, the crowd is eating up everything with Otis and Gable and the Alpha Academy.
That was like a Sami Zayn hug spot or something like you get from that Bloodline story.
Yeah. I mean, and then I loved the hush over the crowd when Otis went on the attack of Sami Zayn.
Yes, well, Sami Zayn ends up back up, and Chad Gable threw him into Otis, who accidentally knocks off Maxine and Tozawa off the apron. And Chad Gable blamed Sami Zayn, so Otis, I guess, only seeing Sami Zayn there, attacked Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
And then Otis carried Maxine and Tozawa to the back. Chad Gable was super pumped up afterwards. Didn't care that Maxine and Tozawa were both hurt. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he thought they were just selling it.
Yeah, I think backstage he was putting them over.
Right, yeah, right. Because he was like, oh, you guys are really selling it. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love it. Something else?
In passing. Later in the night with Sheamus, that match, I think it was. Maybe not with Sheamus. I forget who it was. Someone was walking to the ring. I think I'm thinking of Sheamus from last week. But somebody was walking to the ring this week, I think, and we saw Chad Gable talking to the Creeds.
Oh. Uh-oh. That's
Just
two in a row.
In the background of that, so.
Well, something else I'm loving, Braun Breaker. Man, picked up the victory over Ricochet, stemming from that incredible jumping over the barricade into the spear spot on Ricochet.
But it was refreshing to see Ricochet get a lot in this match, especially since Braun Breaker had literally just been tearing him apart recently. That Frankensteiner in this match was insane.
Mm-hmm.
And after the match, Braun Breaker continued the attack, and Ilya Dragunov made the save. I believe that sets up a match between the two of them for next week.
Yeah.
After that, we saw Kiana James make her Monday Night Raw match debut, where she picked up the victory over Natalya. You could see Natty earlier in the night talking to Sonya Deville in the background, which I think is interesting. And I'm happy in this segment that we got Kiana James to finally wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
The fans weren't really into this, and I can't blame them because what have they done with Kiana James on the main roster?
They don't know her. I mean,
like, the match was fine, but it just needed more. And
yeah, you can't expect fans to be totally attracted and drawn to every single NXT superstar that comes up. And I feel like with Kiana James, it's just going to take time to win over the crowd.
Like, they just had her in her Raw debut. It was like, oh, I'm an assistant to Adam Pearce or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Which to me, that still doesn't make sense.
No, not at all.
It fits, but it just doesn't make sense.
I mean, something else not making sense is, I think we don't know for sure, but Natalya's contract may be coming due soon.
Yeah, I don't know. I was surprised that Kiana James won that match, but I'm happy that she did. But afterwards, Sonya Deville approached Natalya, and Natty said, "Enough is enough, and it's time for a change." A little homage to Owen Hart.
Yeah. And
then she went on to approach Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler. Zoe interrupts it. She cuts her off. She doesn't want anything to do with Sonya Deville. Maybe Sonya Deville is going to be building this super group.
Would be interesting. I'd prefer to see Deville more so of an action person, though.
Yeah.
You know, so if she's leader of a group, I want her to be actually going after that championship.
I don't know if it... Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily need her to go after a championship, but...
I would at some point. I think she deserves it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Sonya Deville.
Yeah.
We had Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair call out Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler, and Jade challenged them to a match right then and there. Adam Pearce cuts it off. He's like, I just want to make sure it's what everyone wants here. And then he makes the match. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair pick up the victory over Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler to retain, but via disqualification. We got more double team moves from the champions, and I'm glad that it wasn't a quick match, because it very well could have been.
Especially with Shayna Baszler having a matchup coming on NXT, with the Battleground upcoming. It couldn't have been a squash match, I feel like.
But it was Alba Fire and Isla Dawn who showed up and attacked the champions, and then the four of them started beating the champions down.
I love it. It's been a little bit of a quick second since we've seen both of them, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. So I was happy for this. I mean, something that I can't unsee is the Cargill and Belair doing the Three Amigos taunt, though. Once they throw their hands on their hips and then they started flexing, I'm like, no way.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But Alba Fire and Isla Dawn were asked why they did what they did, and they said that they're tired of not getting their shot. So they're taking them. And Clash at the Castle was brought up. We don't have anything set in stone right now, but
it seems like it's set enough for that.
I would like to see that.
Yeah.
Afterwards, we had Jey Uso come out in the crowd. Everyone was marking out. They were doing the fireflies. They were doing the arm gimmicks. And basically, Jey Uso enters the Money in the Bank match. To me, this seemed like a misplaced segment, but he was so over with that crowd that I don't think it actually matters.
Are they missing the boat with Uso right now?
How? How could they be missing the boat? He's literally...
Well, I mean, I was looking at that record. He hasn't. I don't think he's won a match, or it was like he hasn't won a match since, I think Mania. I forgot what the record was, or maybe Jimmy was his only win since breaking apart from Reigns in singles action on pay-per-views. It was some statistic showing that he was losing majority of his matches
on pay-per-view.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if it was pay-per-view or just live events.
Well, no, it can't be live events because he's got a victory in a dark match.
Yeah, it's dark.
He has a victory on Monday Night Raw. That was the tournament. Maybe it was pay-per-views.
Maybe.
Or PLEs, but I feel like we have our Money in the Bank winner here.
I'd agree with that.
After that, we had an interview with Lyra Valkyria, and Kathy Kelly asked her about Becky Lynch, and she said that Becky will take her loss from last week and make herself better from it. And that's what she'll do. She'll learn from her losses. Damage control was brought up, and she said that she'll take the Money in the Bank, and then Io attacked Lyra Valkyria.
At first, I didn't know it was Io with the screaming and stuff like that. I, for a moment, thought it was, oh no, why am I...
Kyrie?
Nikki Cross.
Oh, Nikki Cross.
Like, for a quick moment, when I heard, like, the yelling and yelling and yelling, I was like, is that Nikki Cross? Because you couldn't see...
It's safe to know that, safe to say Nikki Cross isn't showing up until at least June 17th, perhaps.
Yeah, that's the tease, potentially, for June 17th, something big taking place.
But that sets up a match next week between Lyra and Io. I think Lyra's going to pick up that victory.
I'd agree with that.
I feel I would be stupid to say that both Jey Uso and Lyra Valkyria are winning the Money in the Bank since they're both on Monday Night Raw.
Uh-huh.
But I really wanted Lyra to win that.
I would have to see more.
Ring, so.
I would have to see more about who's going to be in that match with Lyra.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can't for sure say her.
I mean, we literally don't know anybody except for the two of them. So
exactly. Next up, you had the AOP Authors of Pain picking up the victory over New Day.
New Day were interviewed earlier, and Karrion Kross interrupted that and told Xavier Woods that he wouldn't have to follow Kofi around soon. And then, as far as the match goes, we saw Scarlett get involved. Kofi drops off the apron to get into Karrion Kross's face there. Xavier Woods needed that tag, and Kofi was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, he got distracted.
So it allowed AOP to hit What a Rush and pick up the victory there. So seeds are being planted that we'll see a potential breakup of New Day, where Xavier Woods will go with Karrion Kross. I don't think that'll happen.
I feel like what can happen is that maybe we get a huge tease of Woods going with Kross, but then you have the Glue come on in and rejoin Woods and Kofi, that being Biggie.
Not happening.
Never say never.
After that, the main event, we saw Damian Priest pick up the victory over Rey Mysterio.
Good match.
Priest, I enjoyed this. Damian Priest said that he's going to be done with Rey Mysterio for good after this match. So I went into this thinking that Rey Mysterio was going to win and he wouldn't be done with Rey after this. This was a pretty long match.
Yeah.
But Damian Priest went for a razor's edge from that middle rope, and Rey Mysterio reversed it with the Hurricane Rana. Then he hit the 619, and Damian Priest kicked out of that.
It's cool when you think about that. This is probably a dream match for Damian Priest.
Potentially, yeah.
You know, like, I mean, I think that stuff is pretty cool when you get to face people from that era of you growing up and studying the tape. Like, I'm sure he's studied so many tapes of Rey Mysterio because, I mean, I feel like they just study everybody at times.
Right.
But even as a fan, I think that's a cool spot to be in, but good match.
And we saw Carlito show up. And Dragon Lee brawled with him, and then JD McDonough and Finn Balor jumped him, so Rey Mysterio, feeling bad, his partner's out there getting beat down, he joined in. And when Rey Mysterio got back into the ring, Damian Priest hit him with that South of Heaven, and
that was it.
And then Drew McIntyre attacked Damian Priest afterwards, and he hit him with that Future Shock DDT. There were CM Punk chants. He went for a Claymore, but Judgment Day got into the ring, and Drew McIntyre shut all of them down. But he took his eyes off Damian Priest for a second, and Priest put him through the commentary table.
Yeah, I like how fast all of that took place, too.
Yeah, it was a good ending to Monday Night Raw.
Agreed. Next up, let's go through some NXT, kicking off with the TNA Women's Knockout Champion, Jordynne Grace, picking up a victory over Stevie Turner. What an opener. What a shocker to start off NXT with the Knockout Champion.
Yeah, it's still so surreal to see. And we had Roxanne Perez on commentary, which I thought was funny to hear her and Booker T versus Vic Joseph in this.
Yeah, I mean, Perez, we know, is a trainee of Booker T.
Yeah, but this match, it was just fun.
I agree.
It was an expected victory to put Jordynne Grace over before facing the champion on Sunday, but
it was, if you don't mind me interrupting, sorry. It was a great introduction to her for, I think, NXT fans even further to see her, what she can do in the ring.
Yeah, and it was a nice reminder that Stevie Turner can hang with everybody.
Yeah,
it's been quite some time since we've seen Stevie Turner on television.
That too. And I do like what Jordynne Grace said. They did give a reminder of what she did in the Royal Rumble.
Dude, people are so dumb with
why
the whole like, oh, I can't believe Jordynne Grace. Where's the story? Where's the story? It's
that is
literally
the story.
But even before that, it's been building for weeks. Where Roxanne Perez, I want an opponent. I've beaten everybody.
Yeah, that is the story.
We saw a segment where Ava literally said that she contacted both Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce for advice on an opponent for her.
Yeah, I mean...
And where's the video package? They literally had her show up in her debut or whatever on NXT and say who she is and why she's there.
That's all you need right there.
Like, you can have that. You can have a video package. They do the same exact thing there.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing the same thing with Ethan Page. Come to find out, the end segment. Like, just watch the show.
I know.
It's so goofy. But Jordynne Grace and Roxanne Perez went face-to-face afterwards. Almost led to a brawl. But Roxanne Perez escaped. And then later on, we saw Stevie Turner asked Ava for another match next week, but she said she was busy, so I don't know if we're going to get another match from Stevie Turner next week or what, but we shall see.
Yeah, maybe Stevie Turner versus Roxanne Perez with Jordynne Grace on commentary.
I doubt that.
You know, that's what I would do to flip it up.
But I don't know if that would make sense given that the match is going to be already over.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, true.
After that, we saw Shawn Spears talking to a group of rookies, including Javon and Uriah Connors, who they did recognize as a fourth-generation star. That is the son of Fit Finlay. But he was talking about them, about their careers, and Josh Briggs interrupted and said that he hopes that they're not listening to Shawn Spears. And Shawn Spears gets under Josh Briggs' skin. And later on, when Josh Briggs was about to make his entrance, Shawn Spears took him out. And Javon saw that and ends up brawling with Shawn Spears to the ring and came out on top. So I think that's likely to be a match soon. Javon Evans versus Shawn Spears.
Yeah. Something else. Next up, you had Jasmine Nix pick up the victory over Thea Hale. I was surprised that Nix picked up the victory over Hale.
I was not. You had Riley Osborne and Duke Hudson before the match say, we're going to sit this one out. And then they showed up. So, kind of saw that Jasmine Nix would get this victory. Mm-hmm. They basically caused that distraction there.
Yeah, not on the same page.
But I thought the match was okay. It wasn't the best. But Thea Hale had Jasmine Nix locked in that Kimura lock, and she had to break it due to the rope. And then Jasmine Nix rocked Thea Hale with that Pele kick, which she's a former soccer star, and I think she hits that move beautifully. So,
yeah, it was a sweet finish to it.
After that, we had Tony D'Angelo pick up the victory over Damon Kemp to retain the Heritage Cup. The segment with No Quarter Catch Crew earlier I thought was hilarious, where Charlie Dempsey is trying to be more like Tony D'Angelo, so he's in the mirror doing the "you talking to me?" the taxi driver gimmick. I thought that was so funny. And even more so when Miles Bourne shows up and he's like, "Oh, tell Damon," and Damon's like, "Well, I'm actually here too. Like, you could see me in the mirror." I thought that was really funny. But as far as the match goes, Tony got the first fall in round 1. Damon Kemp almost got a fall in round 2, but the time ran out before the ref could count to 3. And then Kemp started off round 3 super hot, but unfortunately for him, ran right into a huge spine buster from Tony D'Angelo and lost that match. So I'm sure it's not the end of the D'Angelos versus No Quarter Catch Crew.
No.
But I thought that was a well-done segment to further that storyline there.
Yeah, and I think it was a nice win for Tony D'Angelo, who I think D'Angelo needs the wins.
100%.
Next up, you had Natalya pick up the victory over Izzy Dame. Yeah.
I thought it was a decent match. The series, there was a series of pin reversals that Natty ended up coming out on top with, which I typically don't like the pin reversal gimmicks like that.
Yeah, I feel like it was cool the first time we saw it, but then after that, it just happened a lot.
Sometimes I don't mind it. Like in this case, it wasn't like that terrible. But I would have liked more from it. I'm sure we'll see. Hopefully we'll see more. I hope that wasn't it for Natalya.
Yeah, I hope not.
And then all the people, those stupid AEW people are like, "Oh, we don't want Natalya in AEW." And it's like, you'd be an absolute moron to not put Natalya on the AEW roster.
Yeah, that I think that fans don't know what's good for them at times.
They really don't know wrestling sometimes.
It's too
goofy. It's so goofy.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've bashed Natalya matches, of course. But I've also given her credit where it's due. I respect her. And I also recognize that she's beneficial to have with any roster because she's going to elevate anybody she's in that ring
She's
with.
got years of experience. She's Guinness record holder. She's the goddamn boat.
Yeah.
Respect Natalya.
Yeah. So
earlier in the night, we saw Axiom and Nathan Fraser doing a meet and greet outside of the Performance Center in the parking lot, inside of a merch truck, and the OC showed up to beat them up, and then Ava banned all 4 of them from the building because of this, which I thought was good hype for the Battleground event. And we were supposed to see the OC team up and face Tyreek Igwe and Tyson DuPont. But during a commercial break, Gallus attacked them. And then they cut a promo about Sexy Red costing them the match last week. And Joe said that he'll become the North American champion at Battleground. And then Obafemi came out, which led to Wesley coming out. And Gallus jumped Obafemi. Wesley got into the mix. And Gallus beat them down.
yeah.
I don't think Gallus will be coming out on top at the pay-per-view premium live event.
No, I don't either. But next up, you had Wendy Chu, another vignette hype video of her waking up, going over to a sink, turning the sink on, and washing her face. Except when she looks at the mirror washing her face, it's not the Wendy Chu who we knew. It is a different Wendy Chu.
Darker version of Wendy Chu seemingly going to be coming. The mirror cracked, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, it's shattered. Now
and
we
it
got
said she'll be there next week.
The nightmare, Wendy Chu.
I don't think we can. Is that? I mean, I could see maybe running with that, but I don't think because of Cody Rhodes they would run with that.
Oh, true.
After that, we saw Lexis King interviewed, and he was asked about Dante Chen and the match from last week. And then Dante Chen showed up and attacked Lexis King, which I thought was funny. Booker T's like, oh, look, he sucker punched him. And I thought that was funny because we know Lexis King beat Dante Chen down last week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like a sucker punch. It was like a receipt at that point.
Yeah.
But it sets up a Singapore Kane match on NXT next week. I'm pumped for that.
That should be fun.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Earlier in the night, we saw the NXT North American Championship Summit. Before this, though, we saw Lash Legend tell Trick Williams that whatever they have going on, it's over. So she can focus on that championship. When she said it's over, my mouth, my jaw opened up. I was shocked to hear that, but she wants to focus on that championship. All of these women put themselves over. It turned into a brawl with the faces on top. And then Robert Stone showed up and he's like, I'm going to make a 6-woman tag. I want to spice things up a little bit, which we didn't know what he meant by that until we actually had the match. But before that match took place, we had segments backstage where Jordynne Grace met up with Mia Yim and Sol Ruca. I thought that was pretty cool, given that Jordynne Grace and Mia Yim have history together.
I didn't know that.
I mean, in TNA, of course. I'm sure on the independents, too.
Uh-huh.
Ariana Grace had a segment with Jordynne as well, which I thought was funny because, A, she opens it up by saying we have the same last name, or mentioning that they have the same last name or something like that. But also, her dad is an authority figure in TNA. There was no mention of that, but I thought that was pretty cool. Maybe we can get Santino on NXT or something. Probably not, but
that would be an interesting crossover.
And then Tatum Paxley was also part of that, where they were talking about the importance of Ariana Grace's crown, and Jordynne Grace is like, well, this Knockouts Championship means probably more to me than your crown or whatever. Jordynne Grace has an open challenge at Against All Odds. And people are calling for it to maybe be Tatum Paxley, because in this segment, Tatum Paxley, after Jordynne Grace walks away, Ariana Grace walks away, Tatum Paxley goes, that championship is important to me too. So maybe we'll see.
A good chance.
Maybe we'll see Tatum Paxley be that person to answer that open challenge. But we'll find out the week after Battleground. The match that Robert Stone made, though, was Sol Ruca teaming with Mia Yim and Jada Parker. And they picked up the victory over Kalani Jordan, Fallon Henley, and Lash Legend. This was chaotic.
Yeah, a lot taking place during this one.
Jasmine Nix and JC Jane showed up. Commentary's like, who is that? I'm like, what do you mean, who is that? It's clearly JC Jane.
Yeah.
But Jada Parker and Mia Yim started to fight each other when Sol Ruca needed that tag. And then on the opposite side, Kalani Jordan and Fallon Henley started to fight one another. And we saw Lash take Kalani out. We saw Sol hit Lash with the Soul Snatcher and pick up that victory. But that just shows that they couldn't all work together to get that victory, and it's every woman for themselves at the Battleground event. Yeah. And then to close NXT, we had Ava and Ethan Page, where throughout the night, Ethan Page had been demanding a whole bunch of things in order for him to sign a contract with NXT. And Trick Williams at one point was like, listen, just give him whatever he wants. Set that up. I want Ethan Page. You think he's going to attack me and I'm not going to want to retaliate? I said that word weird. I'll say that. But that goes back to what I was saying before with these people. Where's the story? Why does he just walk in and get a title shot? Well, he attacked the champion, and the champion said, I want Ethan Page. He's not just being given a title shot. There's a story there.
Yep.
So, Ethan Page comes out and said that she's going to sign him regardless of what he wants because NXT needs a top star. The draft bled them dry, basically. And he said he could have sat at home for 2 years, collecting a paycheck, but he wants to wrestle. Maybe that's a little shot at AEW. He didn't mention AEW, but it seems like it could be a shot at AEW because he was doing nothing in AEW. I do not understand how Ethan Page is, first of all, doing what he did last week and then cutting the promo he cut this week and wasn't being used on AEW programming.
Yeah.
But Trick Williams came out, repeated what he said about giving Ethan Page whatever he wants so he could fight him. I thought there was great back and forth between him and Ethan Page. And I can't say enough nice things about Ethan Page. He's incredible. And they said that if Ava signed that contract, it would grant Ethan Page a title shot, but it would also grant, or not grant, but also be the end of Trick in NXT if Ethan Page wins. And I guess that it wasn't necessarily said, but it seems like it is going to be a loser leaves NXT if Trick loses sort of situation.
Or at least a one-sided leave.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If Trick loses, he's gone from NXT.
Exactly.
So Ava was like, I can't sign this. And Trick was like, no, you're going to sign it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That's NXT. Moving over to Battleground predictions taking place at the UFC Apex. This NXT event might be the most expensive NXT event to get into.
Wow.
Tickets were like $150, the cheapest, but it's like super small. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it was like, I don't want to say 600 seats or something like that. Something small, maybe 1,000. Maybe less.
That's wild.
But we have the triple threat match for the North American Championship. Obafemi defending the title against Wes Lee and Joe Coffey. I'm sticking with Obafemi as well.
Oba. All right, the NXT Underground match, Baszler versus Vice. I'm going...
I would love to say Shayna Baszler. We had Josh Barnett on NXT this week in a video. I thought that was pretty cool. It's got to be Lola.
Yeah, you know what? I'll go with Lola. Let's build her up a bit and everything like that. Damn it. Why am I saying that? No. I'm going Baszler.
For the NXT Tag Team Championships, Nathan Frazer and Axiom taking on the OC. I'm going to say the OC.
I'm going the OC, baby.
Part of me doesn't believe that the OC will walk out as champions, but I'm going to...
I think they will. Too sweet me, cuz.
I'm going to stick with them.
Too sweet me through the mic.
Okay. I'm not going to do that.
There we go. Boom. Yeah, the OC going to pick up the win.
For the NXT North American Women's Championship, the NXT Women's North American Championship defended in a ladder match, or not defended, it's the inaugural match for it. You got Sol Ruka taking on Kalani Jordynne, Lash Legend, Fallon Henley, Mia Yim, and Jada Parker.
I don't mind picking first. I'm going Lash Legend.
I don't know, man. To me, I don't know. I'm going to say Fallon Henley.
Oh, good pick.
I could see it being Mia Yim. I could see it being Sol Ruka, but I think it needs to be Fallon Henley.
I'm sticking to Lash.
For the NXT Women's Championship, you have Roxanne Perez, the champion, defending the title, and only that title, against the TNA Knockouts champion, Jordynne Grace. I think it has to be Roxanne Perez. I don't know how they're going to get there where Jordynne Grace will still
look good.
Yeah. But I have to pick the champion.
It's hard to pick somebody who's not signed with your company to win. But on the other hand, who knows what sort of an agreement they have come to terms with TNA now.
Right.
So it's very tough to... It does make you think whether or not Grace can actually pick up the victory, because maybe it will lead to more open door policy stuff. But I'm going to go with Perez.
If Jordynne Grace was to win, then she would be the NXT Women's Champion at against all odds. But then I would feel like it has to be Roxanne Perez to answer that challenge. So I'm sticking with the champion.
There you go.
For the NXT Championship, you have Trick Williams defending the championship against Ethan, all ego Page.
I'm going Trick.
Or does Trick lose and go up to the main rosters?
Nah. I think that I'm going Trick.
I think it has to be Trick Williams too.
Yeah.
So that's NXT Battleground. Going to move over to SmackDown, which kicked off with Tonga Loa's anointment ceremony. Paul Heyman said that until Roman Reigns comes back, Solo Sikoa sits at the head of the table. He also said Tama Tonga will now be known as the right-hand man. He also officially welcomed Tonga Loa into the bloodline. And then Solo made Paul Heyman thank the Guerrillas of Destiny for saving him from Kevin Owens last week. And Tama said they could have let Kevin Owens kill Paul Heyman, but by the orders of the tribal chief, they saved him. And then Paul Heyman said that he's been there all day. He's heard that Kevin Owens is looking to take every piece of the bloodline. And right on time, Kevin Owens shows up, ran into the ring, had the upper hand for a quick second, but it was 3-on-1. Street Profits joined in the fight. They also got shut down, but Kevin grabbed a chair. And from then was pretty much when they got the upper hand and they were able to take over. Solo Sikoa, after that, yelled at Paul Heyman and said, "You better get us a 6-man tag match set up for the show. I'll put a pin in that. That's the main event." After that, we saw Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair pick up a victory over The Way. The Way were pissed off that Nick Aldis kind of, I don't want to say goaded Indy Hartwell into a singles match against Jade Cargill while she was out last week injured. But Nick was like, well, since you're cleared, it can be a tag match instead. We saw the Unholy Union, as well as Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, show up to watch the match. Indy Hartwell, I would say, controlled a good chunk of the beginning of this match. up until Jade Cargill got tagged in. And then at the end of the match, I liked Indy Hartwell. She gets sent into the ring post, which very like perfect motion flows right into that tag team finish from Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. So they pick up the victory. The other two teams have immediately jumped the champions, like on Monday Night Raw. And then the two teams end up holding one championship each and then brawled with each other, which led to Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair coming back. They took them out. And then the champions got a triple threat match set up for Clash of the Castle. I don't really understand the way being pushed out of this. I guess they did lose on SmackDown, but also I feel like they were still part of that, but I guess you really don't need them there. You had Grayson Waller pick up the victory over Johnny Gargano. I thought it was a good match back and forth between the two of them. A lot of reversals. Grayson Waller at the end pulled Austin Theory into the way, no pun intended, of Johnny Gargano's dive, and Grayson Waller got the victory shortly after that. So it seems like the champions might, I don't want to say break up, but might have a problem with one another. Throughout the night, Cody Rhodes was in the parking lot waiting for AJ Styles. We saw Nick Aldis show up at one point and said that it's not in the company's best interest to have them fight out there. And then Cody told him that it's between him and AJ, nobody else. Nick Aldis, of all people, should know something like that. And then Nick left, came back with security because he was phoned, I guess, by AJ saying AJ would be arriving shortly. AJ pulled up with the OC, so Cody left. He's not that dumb, but he left and went to the ring to call AJ Styles out. The OC, all three of them came out, as did security, as did Nick Aldis. And AJ Styles basically just said, give me what I want. I want a WWE Championship match at Clash of the Castle. Cody Rhodes agreed, but he said, I quit match. Which Nick Aldis accepted, and then Cody Rhodes started fighting security to get to AJ Styles, which didn't happen. But I didn't get that part of the segment. And with security holding Cody Rhodes back, AJ Styles was allowed to take a cheap shot and then run back. But I don't understand why. Cody got the match, so I don't know why he needed to go after AJ right then and there. Earlier in the night, we saw Apollo Crews get interviewed, and he was asked about his upcoming match with Angel Garza and got attacked by Legado. And that canceled the match. LA Knight showed up after that and questioned Nick Aldis where Logan Paul was. He's at a Tetris tournament this weekend, so he wasn't at SmackDown. And he's like, well, and then Carmelo Hayes showed up and spoke about cooking LA Knight. And LA Knight's like, well, you have an opening for a match. Let's fill that. And LA Knight picked up the victory over Carmelo Hayes. I liked the commentary table spot where Carmelo Hayes thought he had the upper hand, but LA Knight stopped and Carmelo Hayes rolled back out of the ring and went to go after LA Knight, but LA Knight slammed him on the table instead. And I think even though Carmelo Hayes lost, I think Wade Barrett did a good job at building Carmelo Hayes up. And it's not like he lost by much. He was cheating to try to get the victory there. LA Knight rolled it into a quick pin to get that victory. And then LA Knight said that if Logan Paul doesn't want to come to SmackDown, he'll bring SmackDown to Logan Paul. And then Logan Paul got a video aired after that, later on at least, and said that LA Knight has done nothing to merit his attention. So we'll see that fight. Maybe he'll show up at the house. I don't know. Backstage, we saw Tiffany Stratton with Nia Jax. Tiffany told Nia Jax that she has her back, which Nia looked entertained by, because I don't think Nia needs anyone to have her back. But Mia Yim stepped up to Nia Jax after Tiffany left, and Nia told her, be like AJ, retire already. So Mia threw a drink in her face, and that was separated before a brawl broke out. That gets set up for a match next week. We saw Bayley come out and spoke about facing Piper Niven next week at the Clash of the Castle. Immediately cut off by Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, though. Chelsea called Bayley a loser over and over again. Bayley said that Piper does not need Chelsea Green to talk for her. And she actually respects Piper Niven. And then Bayley brought up the Mae Young Classic and how she immediately became a fan of hers and knew what she was capable of when she sat front row to see Piper Niven in that, or not to see her, but when she saw Piper Niven in that. And she said if she wanted a championship match, she did not have to jump her. All she had to do was ask. And she knows what it's like to lose in front of family in your hometown. And because of her jumping Bayley, she's going to embarrass her at Clash of the Castle in front of everybody that Piper Niven knows in her home country. Piper Niven fired back and was like, the Mae Young Classic was 2017. I've been grinding and leading the way for other women in my country since 2008. And I thought that was a fantastic promo from Piper Niven. I don't think we've heard Piper Niven on the mic like that before. So I'm happy that we're getting that opportunity there. Naomi was brought up during that segment, and she ran into Piper and Chelsea backstage. Nick Aldis set up Chelsea Green versus Naomi for next week. And then we get to the main event where we saw Kevin Owens and the Street Profits pick up the victory over the Bloodline via disqualification. The Street Profits had the upper hand for a short moment at the start, but Solo Sikoa quickly took over. The fans popped big time when Kevin Owens eventually got tagged in, but it got pretty chaotic ringside, and Solo Sikoa ended up using a steel chair. After the match, Dawkins fought Solo back into the ring. Tonga Loa attacked him, and Solo rocked him with that Samoan spike. Montez Ford crawled in, obviously not getting any offense in there. Solo teased that Samoan spike and then smirked and hit a spear. So I think when Roman Reigns is actually back, there's going to be actual hell to pay for this new bloodline. And then Kevin Owens tried to continue the fight, but they shut that down. They put him through the commentary table. And that was the end of SmackDown. Gonna take a quick little break right now, and I'll be right back here on Markin Out.
This is Jake the Snake Robertson. In case you didn't know it, you're listening to Markin Out.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Markin Out episode 696. Going back to AEW Rampage from last week, we saw Takeshita pick up the victory over Penta to move on to that TNT ladder match. I thought this was a good match. I have to hope that Takeshita wins the ladder match. I don't have faith in that, but hopefully he does. I guess the only other person that I see winning that would be Jack Perry, but that would have to be by some sort of cheap tactic with the Young Bucks involved, something like that. After that, Satnam Singh picked up the victory over Peter Avalon. I don't know who they're building Satnam Singh up to face, but I couldn't care less about this match. After that, Toni Storm picked up the victory over Viva Van. This was another good match. I don't recall seeing anyone win an eliminator match, though, so I wish they would stop doing those. It's kind of annoying when it's so repetitive. It might have happened like one time, but I don't remember. But I also think that Viva Van looked better than Toni Storm in this match. Not great for Toni Storm, but great for Viva Van there. Not that Toni Storm looked bad, but she just looked better. After that, Kyle O'Reilly picked up the victory over Jordan Cruz. Nothing to say about this match. Kyle O'Reilly tore through him. Main event saw Fenix pick up the victory over Isaiah Cassidy. I still really don't like that Isaiah Cassidy and that Roosh match from the other week, that it took so long for Roosh, even though Roosh had the victory won. Isaiah Cassidy had that comeback, which I don't think should have happened. This, to me, makes Fenix look weak. So, unfortunate. Moving over to Collision, we saw FTR open up, and they spoke about losing at Double or Nothing, and going into Double or Nothing not being 100%. But they're still standing, and they're still not done. The Elite didn't take them out. And Dax said until he's dead, the Elite will have it coming. Bryan will be back. Darby Allin will be back. They'll be back. Bryan, spoiler alert, was back before them. But I'll put a pin in that. But I don't know when this feud's going to end. Seems like it should end at All In. Not 100% sure. After that, Roderick Strong picked up the victory over Lio Rush. Roddy claimed that he was supposed to be the next entrant in that Casino Battle Royal, but I could swear they said everyone was out in the match when I believe it was Hechicero was the last person in the match. I could be completely wrong on whether or not they said that, but I thought this was a good match. Both of them had good offense, but no way was Lio Rush, someone who has not been in AEW for 3 years, no way was Lio Rush getting this victory. And I think it gave Roderick Strong a strong, no pun intended, victory there. And despite this victory, the AEW Championship to me continues to look like an absolute joke, because afterwards Roderick Strong demanded a title shot from Tony Khan, and Tony Khan just smiled his way through it. He was so happy to do it, and everyone's like, oh, Roderick Strong's 8-1. He just lost. He just lost the International Championship at Double or Nothing. Beating somebody who's not been in AEW for 3 years does not, for me, make him an AEW Championship contender. After that, Daniel Garcia and Shibata picked up the victory over the Workhorsemen. Garcia had an interview before this, and I have no idea what he said in the interview because it was super loud and he was super low. But I thought it was nice to see the Workhorsemen back, especially after everything that Anthony Henry went through in April. But it seemed like JD Drake unfortunately got injured in this. He continued the match. He hit that moonsault at one point. I don't know if he's okay. I didn't see any updates or anything. Hopefully he's fine. I'm not sure. After that, Thunder Rosa picked up the victory over Reina Dorada. Dorada is from AAA, and the crowd was pretty quiet for this match. I don't think it was up to par for a TV match, so I completely 100% understand them being quiet, on top of them probably not knowing who the hell she is. So, this was not a good match. After that, Cage of Agony picked up the victory over Danny G, Danny Rose, and Kevin Matthews. Kevin Matthews literally was the only member of this team that looked like he could have beat the Cage of Agony. And I thought the ending of this match was bad. I don't think a parachute spot like that was a finish. I just, not for me. After that, Claudio picked up the victory over John Morrison. This was a pretty random match. The Blackpool Combat Club, as far as up until Collision goes, seemed pretty disconnected from one another these days. But John Morrison laid out a challenge to Claudio because they've always been around one another, but they never faced off one-on-one. They've actually been part of 2 Royal Rumbles together, and they tagged twice. I thought it was a decent match, but Taya Valkyrie got involved to help John Morrison get the upper hand. I liked the low blow spot from him because he popped Claudio up and did like a reverse kick to him. And when he did that, I was like annoyed at first because I was like, why is she taking the time to distract the referee for John Morrison to just pop him up in the air and launch him over his head? And then he landed that kick and I was like, oh, that's brilliant. I thought that was a great spot. But Taya Valkyrie kept getting involved behind or in front of the referee at some points too. The ref couldn't even care less. And I don't know at what point is she going to be kicked from ringside for that. Like, it doesn't make sense. After that, Shane Taylor Promotions picked up the victory over the West Coast Wrecking Crew. They aired a very quick highlight video for the West Coast Wrecking Crew from New Japan. But they didn't mention, maybe rightfully so, they didn't mention that they were part of the early days of Dark Elevation. But the fans got super quiet for this match as well. And I think Royce and Jarrell were fine in this, but no way were they winning this match. And maybe the fans weren't really familiar with them, and that's why they weren't into this match. After that, we saw the Iron Savages cut a promo about wanting to be in more trios matches. And I popped for that because I was like, hell yeah, I want to see the Iron Savages on TV more as well. But then it became clear as to what this was, and then Killswitch destroyed all three of them. So that sucked. Unfortunate. Doesn't seem like we're getting more Iron Savage matches. Main event saw Will Ospreay pick up the victory over Kyle O'Reilly to retain. Was this an eliminator match? I don't remember. But I thought this was goofy because Kyle O'Reilly had the match on Rampage against a nobody. Does that build him up to face the newly crowned champion? I think not. But this was easily the best match of the night. And I thought it was so good that I think AEW was very stupid to just give this match away on a random episode of Collision with zero build. I don't know why they would have done that, but well done by Ospreay and Kyle O'Reilly. And then they ruined it by airing a pre-taped video from Swerve that should have been done in front of a live crowd at Dynamite. And he spoke about Roderick Strong, even though it was clearly pre-taped. And they had music to it. Like, you could have done that instead of having them match against Roderick Strong. Or, I don't know. I'll talk more about that in a moment. Moving over to AEW Dynamite, it opened with MJF, where he shows up, different leather jacket this week, looking more like he's in Deuce and Domino, but he promotes the fact that he's stoned, he's in Colorado, hilarious, and then he promotes his merch, which they should have had ready to go when he returned at Double or Nothing. Then he spoke down about Okada. He spoke down about the AEW champion Swerve. Moved on to Will Ospreay. And then Roosh finally showed up and claimed while MJF was out, he'd been working hard. Which should really be hardly. He had 3 matches against Martin Stone, Cody Chun, and Isaiah Cassidy. In what world is that him working hard? But MJF shows Roosh a little bit of respect. Claimed that he's the best, though. It's not Roosh. And this led to a fight. And I'd really like to have not had this for MJF's return, because Roosh should be winning matches. And I don't think Roosh is going to beat MJF. And I don't think the segment made all that much sense. You had Roosh call MJ out the other week, which still didn't make sense. But even the stuff that Roosh said in this promo didn't make sense. First match saw Phoenix pick up the victory over Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly, and Jay Lethal to become #1 contender of the International Championship. How Kyle O'Reilly was in this is beyond me. He literally just lost on Collision to the goddamn champion. And how Jay Lethal was in this is even more beyond me. What the hell has Jay Lethal done to earn a maybe title shot? This match, though, was super chaotic. All over the place. Phoenix gets a quick cradle on Jay Lethal to pick up the victory. He was the only person in this match that made sense to me to get that victory. And then we saw Trent Beretta and Don Callis show up afterwards. Trent had a chair. So Cassidy grabbed a chain. And then Chris Statlander showed up to beg Orange Cassidy to stop. And then Stokely said that Chris Statlander is going to put a foot up Orange Cassidy's ass. She clocked him in the face. It led to Willow running down and Statlander ran off. Seems like we should be getting a mixed tag match from the four of them. After that, Christopher Daniels came out and announced a TNT ladder match qualifier. I don't necessarily think, well, I guess it makes sense to just show that he's also an authority figure. I don't think it needed to be full entrance music. Well, not full entrance, but just entrance and music. I think it could have just been a backstage gimmick. Mark Briscoe ends up picking up the victory over Brian Cage to qualify for that ladder match. Did not need the fighting outside the ring. I thought the spot where Mark Briscoe grabbed a chair and slid it into the ring to distract the referee so he can use another chair just to dive to the outside was weird, because why does the referee need to be distracted for that? But I'm just glad Mark Briscoe won the match. I think he'll be more entertaining in that match than Brian Cage will be. Jack Perry cut a promo afterwards and said that he's going to be the next TNT champion. So if it's not Jack Perry, then I can't see it being anybody else except for Takeshita. After that, Hook and Samoa Joe were being interviewed backstage, which was interrupted by Tony Nese, Daivari, and Smart Mark Sterling. There was a promo for them that aired, a video package that aired for them on either Rampage or Collision. I forget when, but it's been months since we've seen them on TV. So I assume come one of the shows next week, I'll be talking about some form of a match between Hook and, let's say, Daivari or Tony Nese. After that, the Acclaimed came out and they were supposed to have a segment, but the Bucks cut it off due to Max Caster talking about them in his rap. And then later on, the Acclaimed told the Young Bucks that sooner or later they'll have to face them. And then Christian also demanded another title match, and the Young Bucks were like, wow, we'd love to, but as you saw last week, Christopher Daniels doesn't let us just give everybody what they want, but they hope to continue the you scratch our backs, we'll scratch yours sort of relationship that they have going on. After that, the Blackpool Combat Club teamed up, all four members for the first time in whatever many months, I forget what they said, to defeat Team CMLL, which is just, first of all, annoying to see Wheeler Yuta in this. Randomly announced his return on Twitter. He's been out for 5 months. He's still the pure champion. And then nothing. All of a sudden, boom. Tweets sent, and then he's back. No return promo, nothing. And this rivalry. They keep talking about in this segment, this rivalry that they've had. We haven't heard anything about this since March. And they tried to make it seem like it was a huge rivalry that they've had, this ongoing thing. It's been months since we've heard anything about it. But Team CMLL was Volador Jr., Magnus, Rahido, and Esfinge. It started with a giant brawl, as many Blackpool Combat Club matches do. It eventually turned into an 8-man tag match, and it had a boring finish to it. Didn't really care for this match. And then later on, Bryan Danielson entered himself into the Owen Hart tournament. He spoke about all his disappointing moments from this year. And this is his last shot, basically. After that, Saraya picked up the victory over Mariah May. Toni Storm, I thought, was annoying on commentary. I thought the outside brawling, again, more after match, boring. It's done, overdone. And I'm sure if you took Toni Storm out of this, I'm sure if you took the Outcast out of this match, it would have been more enjoyable, because there were bits and pieces of this that I did enjoy. But Saraya has done literally nothing of note since September and gets this victory. The Outcast attacked Toni Storm and Mariah May afterwards, and then Mina Shirakawa made the save. It was announced over the weekend at Stardom, I believe, that Toni Storm challenges Mina Shirakawa to face her at Forbidden Door. That was made official. And then they went face to face and I guess tried to not even fight for Mariah May, but just fought in between, or had Mariah May in between them. And then the main event saw Swerve pick up the victory over Roderick Strong to retain. We saw Swerve interviewed earlier on. He mentioned dealing with MJF soon. Then he mentioned the contract for Forbidden Door. He signed it. He wants Renee to send it over to Will Ospreay to have him sign it. And then he finally spoke about Roderick Strong, and the match itself was like watching an independent wrestling show because the title was on the line. Absolutely no reason. It was a decent match. It was an okay match. It was not better than Roderick Strong versus Will Ospreay. So that, to me, just makes that AEW championship continue to go down further and further. Meaningless matches don't make a championship. You could have 3 to 4 segments a night, but they're meaningless. There's no meaning to them. So that's very unfortunate. And that's AEW Dynamite. Hey, Brennan, got any shout-outs?
Damn it, Bobby, how many times do I have to tell you to listen to Brandon's shout-outs?
The first shout-out goes to Jim Henson, Idea Man. Have you heard anything, seen any clips from this at all?
Nope.
It's a new documentary out on Disney Plus, directed by the great Ron Howard, obviously about Jim Henson. And I think it's really cool to see the bits and pieces into his mind and how the Muppets came to be. I would have definitely liked for this documentary to be longer, and I think it would have been nicer. It would have been nice to get like a more footage of or behind the scenes footage of the Muppets Vision 3D ride or attraction, I should say, from Hollywood Studios, because that was the last project that Jim Henson worked on. So there are little tiny clips of that in there, but I would have liked to have seen a lot more
of it.
But who doesn't like the Muppets?
Yeah.
Jim Henson, I wish I could have met him. I think it was really cool. I think it's probably on Hulu also.
Jim Henson he's a legend. I mean.
Yeah. So check that out on Disney Plus. Sticking with documentaries, my next shout out goes to Butterfly in the Sky, which apparently was from 2022. Yeah. But it came out on Netflix. It's about how Reading Rainbow came to be. And I don't remember much from the show, but I know I watched it. And I enjoyed this documentary and getting to see what they put into making Reading Rainbow.
That's cool.
It was cool. They had the guy that did the theme song. He took people through step by step as to how he created it. Mm-hmm. And then he did it live or whatever with the machine and everything. Obviously, the singer wasn't there, but it's like such a unique sound.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really cool to see him perform it live, I guess. And I think Reading Rainbow is, or I guess at this point was a very important show.
Yeah.
I don't know how it doesn't still exist to this day, especially in a format for like YouTube or something, where kids are constantly on their iPad. But I enjoyed this, and it's funny because throughout the documentary, I'm waiting. I'm like, how do they not include the clip from Jimmy Fallon where he's singing Reading Rainbow as Jim Morrison from The Doors? And then you finish the documentary, spoiler alert, and it plays during the credits. So I was like, that's funny. So I appreciated that. Check that out on Netflix. And then another, I guess, documentary. The Ricky Steamboat biography on A&E gets the final shout out. It's very much so an extended version of the Ricky Steamboat, the life story of the Dragon documentary that WWE put out in 2010. Mm-hmm. But I think this was very well done, and it features up-to-date interviews with him. It has new interviews from people like Tony Atlas, Jake the Snake Roberts, Nikita Koloff. Shane Douglas was there, which I wasn't expecting to see Shane, which I think was pretty cool. many people may not remember that they were tag team champions in WCW. So I thought that was pretty cool. The one thing that I really wish that they had in this was an interview from Richie. You don't hear anything about Richie Steamboat these days, and it's such a shame. Such a shame that his career ended the way it did, because it seemed incredibly promising.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as Ricky Steamboat goes, I think it's really cool how it looked like absolutely no time had passed between his last match, I think it was 1994, and then WrestleMania 25 in 2009. And then Backlash as well against Chris Jericho in a singles match in 2009. So it's really cool. I thought it was a very well done documentary, like I said. Check it out. I don't know where you can watch this other than A&E's website. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Those are my shout-outs, though. Now it's time for our Mark Out Moment of the Week. That is right, our Mark Out Moment of the Week. I gotta say, we kind of mentioned it earlier, but we didn't really mention it earlier. The QR code from Uncle Howdy this week directed people to Raw Talk. And it basically said, one last chance, there is a reckoning coming. And some of these teasers that they've had for Uncle Howdy are, I mean, not some, a lot of them are so much creepier than anything that they did with Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan for it, and we'll see what happens with that, you know?
Even playing like the audio clips in reverse and that creepy robotic voice, it's gross. I hate it. But it's so well done.
Yeah, I marked out for actually like a few songs. I heard I heard that Hardy song, Truck Bed, and I'm hooked on it. Then I heard another song, Alex Wallen, I think his name is. But there's a few songs that I've heard recently where I definitely marked for, and it's refreshing to hear new music where I'm a big fan of it. Because I don't feel like I hear too many songs where I'm like, I need to listen to this on repeat right now. And for me to be able to listen to a song on repeat like that, I thought that it was cool. It's Alex Warren, Carry You Home. That was another song. And then this other song, the Tipsy.
Yeah, that's really good. He was just on the Tonight Show.
Yeah, that's another song.
Shabuzi, I think.
Yeah, Shabuzi. Yeah. Those three songs I've heard within the last few days, and I'm like, holy crap! I could listen to all three of these songs on repeat and not get tired. So I totally marked for that.
I don't know if I first heard that song via TikTok, because it's like huge on TikTok, or if I heard it when I was in my brother's car. But I remember when I heard it the first time, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, this is literally Tipsy. Which I'm like a big fan of that song too, but I think this is a phenomenal like use of that song, and
it's great sampling.
It's a good song. Yeah,
I mean, also Eminem, Houdini, new Eminem song is out.
Which a lot of people were like, how dare he? But that's literally
that's
like, that's Slim Shady. Yeah, it's literally what I mean. Not fast forward, rewind to when we were younger. You were obviously much older than me, but
yeah, that is Eminem.
Yeah, but I mean, nobody was safe there.
Yeah,
I get it that it's a different like time period that we live in, but
I mean, he went after his own daughter in this song.
Yeah. So, other mark out moments wrestling wise, I saw Maven all over Instagram, I guess, this week, hanging out with the Undertaker. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. He was at Undertaker's house. It seemed like he was with Mideon, Godfather. Chris Van Vliet was there. So I don't know how that cool connection took place, but that was pretty cool.
I mean, and then I started watching the 8 Show on Netflix, and they did bring up pro wrestling at one quick point. I did mark for that. Yeah.
Also, the first episode of Who Killed WCW aired, and I have to say, first of all, I hate Dark Side of the Ring.
Mm-hmm.
The Tales from the Territories that they did with The Rock, I thought was pure garbage. No offense to them.
No, The Rock doesn't get offended. He
This
gets even.
This was so much better than anything those two shows put out.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just episode 1, and it was
2
cool.
to the 3 to the 4.
It was cool to see interviews from people that you wouldn't really expect to see. Like Brad Siegel, who was the president of Turner Networks, who's just on the documentary saying, I don't like wrestling. I didn't want them on the air. And then you had Ted Turner's son, which I wasn't expecting to see that. But you have wrestlers like Medusa, you have Booker T, Diamond Dallas Page, Conan, of course, Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash, there's one point, popped the hell out of me because Bischoff, who's also on it, was talking about something. He was like, when I got to WCW, Scott Hall was there, Kevin Nash was there. Kevin Nash, great looking guy, great body, whatever. And then it just like does a quick cut to Kevin Nash. He's like, I'm going to censor it. He goes, hell yeah. And then like cuts away from it. But it was like the most Kevin Nash response that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to watch the next episode. I think there's only 4 episodes. So
Makes it easy to watch.
yeah, I'm literally a breath of fresh air from anything that they ever put
Nice.
out. So
There you go.
those are really the mark out moments of the week, and that was episode 696. Thank you so much for tuning in. You could follow us on Twitter at Markin Out, at BTTG161 on all platforms, Chris Sweendog, CM Sweeney 85, David PTDPT on all platforms, Facebook.com/markinout, YouTube and Instagram are markinout11. You could check out merch if you feel so lovely about it. It's prowrestlingtees.com/markinout. At Markinout on Twitch. You could listen to us on markinout.com, of course. Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, YouTube. If you're going to YouTube, maybe just leave a like and you can leave some comments. Maybe subscribe to us. Yeah, share it. Rate, review, subscribe all over the place. Get us that algorithm that we want. Hopefully.
Yes, thank you.
And we
wish you
be
the best of luck in your future endeavors.